Good afternoon, my Facebook fans, LinkedIn connections, YouTube. How you doing? This is Tony Williams, the CEO for Veterans Council Veterans, and we're doing welcome to our very first this year. That's how busy I've been. VCV update. And I know, thank you for those who are attending. I know everybody's busy. There's a lot going on, and I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy schedule to see what's going on with VCV. Man, I tell you what, there's a lot going on. We're going to talk about the memorial just came from with Major Cody. We're going to talk about the upcoming programs and podcasts. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff the Veterans Council Veterans are involved in. But before I do all of that, I always got to do my outro. So outro. So there we go. I tell you, so all the guys there who are back from lunch and whatever you're coming, you're a little full, you got to find some way to make it through the day, and hopefully I can help you ignite that day. So again, Veterans Council Veterans, we're actually doing a whole bunch, and I'm going to kind of put you update a little bit about what we've been doing. But first, I want to start off with something, fortunately, a solemn moment. If those of you who may have known Major Cody Cork, Major Cody Cork. Unfortunately was killed in Kuwait with the Iranians, and he is a reservist. And people don't understand when you're a reservist that really what that means is that you're assigned to someone else for that particular time and by yourself, because he was mobbed, individually mobbed. And then so what the confusion comes is like you don't see where he's really assigned, and he's really assigned to the 317th MP Battalion in Tampa. But if you don't know that, you would think that he belongs in Oregon or 103rd Sustainment or MacDill, whatever, not know that, no, he's a reservist. And the reservists they're sacrificing as we speak. And they're kind of in that middle ground where when they're not on orders, they're like veterans. And then when they're on orders, they're like military service. So that's one of the confusing part. And I wanted to take the time out to actually attend his event, but his event on Saturday, the 28th. So first, I want to just go about some of the things he's involved in. So hold on real quick, and we'll get a kind of update for those who don't know about Major Cody.
Yesterday in Polk County, family and friends gathered at the funeral for one of the 6 service members killed in the Iranian drone attacks in Kuwait. It was for 35-year-old Major Cody Cork. He was killed in the early hours of the conflict. Blake Phillips tells his story.
Major Cody Aaron Cork, 35, a devoted military police officer, passed away after a life defined by service, leadership, and unwavering dedication to his country.
A community in mourning, coming together to remember Major Cody Cork.
How do you sum up the life like yours, Cody? You can't. But you can see it here in the faces of everyone whose lives you've touched.
Major Cork was among several killed in a drone strike in Kuwait. His stepmother, Stacy Cork, saying he was driven by doing right, by everyone he met.
He believed in doing the right thing, even when it cost him something. And in the end, it cost him everything.
That message was clear on Saturday. The Florida Southern College graduate touched so many lives, from his childhood in Winter Haven to his years in the Army.
Cork was my best friend, my best man. I'm sorry. And my brother.
And I am better for having Cody in my life for 2.5 months. And so as we mourn his loss today, please internally recognize your gain for having known him.
And the ceremony ended with a powerful and emotional message from his stepmom.
There's a space in our lives now that will never be filled. But there's also something else that will never leave us. And that is pride. Unshakable, undeniable pride. Because our son didn't just wear the uniform, he honored it. He led with integrity, he led with purpose, and he gave his life in service to his country.
Well, Cork was posthumously promoted from the captain to major 2 weeks after his death. His burial is set for tomorrow.
And I kind of want to go over that with some people who spoke. And yeah, again, I attended the event. It was last Saturday at Winter Haven, and I tell you, it was packed. And even me being a veteran and combat veteran and losing people like that, even it was very emotional for me. I didn't know how I would make it. It was so tough. It was such a tough event, but I wanted to make sure that that we were there, and also that we were able to sit there and take what's going on. Because I tell you, the community was grieving, not just Cody, not just the 317th or the unit he was assigned to, but the entire community from Tampa to MacDill. They all were grieving, and we got to find a way. One thing the Veterans County Veterans going to be involved in is finding a way to help the community heal. And some of the people you may not have. I want to introduce some people you saw that you heard on the video piece. So you had Captain Kim. He was the chaplain that was assigned from the military. They're actually part of this whole from the dignity transfer to the actual event at the Winter Haven funeral. So he was there, and he was actually really he's out of like Massachusetts or Fort Dix. So he's really from out of there, coming all the way to Tampa. And that's how sometimes when you assign someone to manage the whole proceedings, that was Captain Kim. Did a great job. It's such a short moment notice. Colonel Lamont, who was professor at the PMS, professor of military science at the Florida Southern College in Lakeland. That was his professor, and he also talked about he took Cody with him after he finished. He took Cody with him to Senegal, so they had the relationship with Colonel Lamont. And the one you saw the tearful one was Abbas, who goes by AJ Abbas Jaffer. He was his best friend. They've known him for like 16 years. Out of the 16 years, 7 of them they lived together. He was his best man at Jaffer's marriage, so they really knew him. And I tell you, one of the things, the difference between a reservist sometimes and active duty is that a reservist, because you kind of live in both worlds, a civilian world, citizen soldier, what they call them, a reserve world and a military civilian world. Sometimes your best friends may not be from the military; they may be in the civilian side. And this was definitely AJ's role, and he knew him. The civilian knew him. They were all there in full force. So thank you, a shout out to AJ. We had communications before the funeral, and then finally Cody's mother-in-law, who was Stacy. His father was actually a Marine as well. So his father definitely kept a low key, but he was there. I got a chance to meet the Marine out there. So it was a very moving event. I don't want us to forget the challenges and the true sacrifices that not just the military make, which we all do, but the reservists as well. People, even though they even mentioned it, 5 of the 6 service members that was killed at the Kuwait were actually reservists. And there's a different kind of grief and a disconnect, and the services aren't available and the access is not available. There's a lot of things that need to be talked about, and we're going to do that at Veterans County Veterans. Part of my podcast is plugging my podcast coming up, and the podcast is right here that we're going to start having. And with this podcast, we're going to be talking about the underserved veterans and tribe members, I call them. It's elderly veteran, reservists, the military, and the veteran family. So those 3 are what like I call the underserved, because we just don't know much about them. It's kind of confusing. We don't talk about them. They're not often part of the narrative. That's what I wanted. When I say underserved, they're not part of the narrative when we talk about the sacrifices that our military service member make, and the families. The families is the key in all 3 of those elements. So the families are the ones that when everybody leaves and gets in their car and go back to their homes, the one who's still there and stay with that grief for the families and the people who knew them. And we want to try to make sure that we are part of that solution, not just saying, thank you for your service. How often do we hear, thank you for your service, but then that's as far as it go. We're going to do more of that, get more action. It's going to take a community. So you'll see some stuff as time goes on. If I get a chance to get some on, as they get through the grieving, they want to talk about it. Just talk about the loss and what was available, not available for this reservist. And so I wanted to make sure that we didn't forget about that. So as I saluted it, even at that event, Major Cody Aaron Cork, thank you for your service and your sacrifice, and for the families, and thank you for the families that let you have you be part of that service. And we really, in this case here, and with this podcast, and whenever I do it, I don't want to talk about the left and right, the Democrats, probably. No, it's about the service member. It's all about the service member. And we got to get past the politics, which is difficult. But just the fact that a soldier has went out there and protected our country, did the mission right, and he died. In this case, they died. And we had also three, I think maybe reservists from MacDill, the three refuters that came also, and they did dignity transfer at the MacDill Air Force Base. We get past the politics. People out there think, well, I'm going to say no, because when you start putting the negative and positive, then you actually minimize and marginalize that person's death or sacrifice. And I don't know if I don't think that's the intention. I think the intention is that we make sure that they're sacrificed. And Tony Williams, Veterans Council of Veterans, will make sure that we stay apolitical. We keep the eye on the prize, which is the veterans and their families, and don't get too much into the politics. I did notice that there was some key legislators there. Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins was there, and Representative Scott Franklin was there as well. It was just so much. So I just want to make sure we don't forget about Cody and his family and their sacrifices. Then the thing is also that we're going to talk about is, and this podcast is, and the importance of this podcast is that the elderly veterans is another one of those populations that are underserved. And when I say underserved, what I mean is that they're not part of the narrative. But Florida itself has almost 700,000 veterans over the age of 65, elderly veterans over 65. In fact, the average age of a veteran is 65.8. And the average age of a military service member is 28.5. And oftentimes in the narrative and the marketing and all that kind of stuff, we focus so much on the younger veterans that we kind of overlook the narrative of the older veterans. And that's what we want to talk about. And it really takes a village. It's just not Veterans Council. We don't want to monopolize this, because there's enough out there that everybody can sit there and be part of the solution. And there are four major stakeholders when we talk about supporting our elderly veterans. And the four stakeholders are the federal government, which in a lot of times it could be the veteran affairs, in the national part of the federal affairs, and especially when we talk about the hospitals. And so we got hospitals that are involved in each local area. They're part of the stakeholders that we, if you will. The state for us, when it comes to veterans, are really the two major stakeholders in the statewide is the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, headed by General Hammer James Hartzell. And we have the Elder Affairs, the Department of Elder Affairs, which is headed by Michelle Braham. Those are the key state agencies that support our veterans, elderly veterans and their families. Then it becomes more local when it becomes the county. And you'll see we'll have upcoming events and summits to suburban elderly veterans in the county. They have their VSOs. And backtrack to the state, when I said Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, there are a lot of things that the FDVA provides service for elderly veterans. And one of them is the nursing homes. Right now, currently, the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs has 9 nursing homes that are tied with California, and they're process of building a 10th one. And so when they complete this 10th nursing home, we'll have the most nursing homes in the country. And that's something that's important that we're trying to fake that. But this stuff you hear more about with this podcast that's coming up, where we actually start talking about the elderly veterans and their families, and we'll start having guests on and experts on. We start talking about this support mechanism. We're going to have elder law. We're going to have short-term, long-term care. We're going to have dementia. We're going to have all those elements you'll see on that wheel. You'll be seeing on our podcast. We talk to these experts, and we find the support that's out there, and then identify the gaps. And this county is, the closest one to the gaps is going to be the mayors and the counties. And so it's going to start there. So each one of these little wheels you'll see will have an independent wheel depending on the county. You have the Pinellas County, you have Hillsborough County, Orange County, and stuff like that when it comes to that. So what I want to mention when I mention these counties, and one of the things that goes at Veterans Council of Veterans, we have to create a supportive network. And the supportive network, again, will include all those stakeholders, providing with the number one goal, and that's to sit there and support elderly veterans and their families. And so that's what Veterans Council of Veterans, we want to be part of that. We want to be a part of it and the mental wellness side. But right now we need to sit there and create this wheel and put names to that. And you'll see that as we start going on, put names. One of my asks I have for you guys out there who are watching, if you feel like that's one of your, and this is a God assignment, I'm telling you, overall God assignment. If that's something that you feel a need to calling to, please contact me. Either putting on in this DM here or contact me on my Facebook, whatever, so we can start being part of it, having an impact, just start talk. See, about Veterans Council of Veterans, we don't just talk about it, we be about it. If you want to be about it, you want to have an impact on it, contact us and let's start getting things to take care of our veterans, elderly veterans, and their families. Another part of this program is our summits, and we got one coming up right now. We're gonna have 3 of them, and we're having each county. We're gonna have Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, and then our new one is going to be in Orange County, where we're going to have bringing all the resources together, subject matter experts. We're going to talk about things like dementia. We're going to talk about long-term, short-term care, insurance. We're going to have panelists to talk about what services they've seen out there. It's going to be a great event. So the first one will be in May, and May has a lot of, I tell you, a lot of designated winter. Time on May, besides being Memorial Month, which we also have an event for Memorial Month. I'll make sure I bring that up next time we talk. We're going to have a special memorial ceremony, which will be on the 24th of May. And that's for those who lost a veteran or a first responder to suicide. So that's one thing that you'll see coming up on the 24th of May. But the May is also Mental Health Month. So there's a lot of stuff. So May is Mental Health Month. May is also Memorial. And then May is also Senior Citizen Month. And so that's one way we're trying to have these senior citizens. So one of our first out the gate, besides the podcast is going to be every Monday at 2. We're going to have these summits. And so the first out the gate will be the one in St. Pete College for Pinellas County. Stay tuned. Again, if you want to be part of this, subscribe. If you're looking at me from my YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll know what's going on. And I tell you what, Veteran County Veteran is going fast. We're not taking any prisoners. It's about, if a vision without action is just a dream. I got that from my friend and veteran Gaston Meredith. So in this case here, a vision without action is just a dream. And we're not about that. We're not dreamers. We're doers. So again, if you want to be serious, contact us. Let's get to work and get this and this going on with this one. So that's one of the things that are really kind of going on to bring you up kind of up to date. Finally, sharing is caring. So at a minimum, as people say, what can I do? Veterans Council, what can I do, Tony? What can we do? I tell you, it costs nothing but a finger to sit there and share and subscribe. That's doing something the veterans looking at. That is doing something actionable. So right now we got 2 people who share this. I want to thank those who Christopher Craig and Charles Costello for sharing. Now my podcast, that's a whole different story. When we come back, we started my first podcast. There are a lot more people who actually provided service for that, who actually reposted our events, and I'll make sure you see them when we have our next meeting, our next event for our podcast, who actually shared this. That is a lot. But I just wanted to make sure that I know you haven't seen Veterans Council Veterans see my face in a long time. This is why we're moving, we're working, we're planning and executing almost the same time. Anybody in the military knows all about that. Planning and executing at the same time, and that's how we do, and that's how we roll. If you want, once again, you want to be part of Veterans Council Veterans, you want to be part of what we're doing, be part of the system, please contact me on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Just let me know, call me, and we will definitely appreciate it. We got a lot of work, and I've always been a collaborative. So I'm not here to do this by myself. I really am not. I'm part of a team. Everybody been in the military long term. We all work as part of a team, right? That's the thing we got to get more into. We got to get more into the team mentality and not the individual. Well, I got to do this because there's enough stuff out there. You ain't got to be the only one. That's my call for that. So that's it. What time? Less than 15 minutes. I don't like my update being more than 15 minutes since it's man. But stay tuned now for our podcast that's coming up, and you have more information. That'll be like 30 minutes. We're going to be sitting there having great guests on. We're going to have people from the village that's going to talk about stuff. We're going to have experts, and you'll learn a lot. The key thing is that we do what we call our main focus for VCV is we're a referral organization. We're advocacy. We're about collaboration. Collaboration is the key. Counseling and connecting. That's what we try to do on these podcasts and VCV in general. So I've been a little bit past my time, but thank you for an update. Until then, I will see you guys on the other side. As usual, got to do my outro. See you then.